Have you got a minute? Can you answer just one quick question? Please help me. I'm stuck. How many times a day are we interrupted? Hundreds, right? And we know that we need to be able to manage our interruptions. And according to the researchers at the University of California, the typical office worker, and we're all better than typical, is interrupted or switches tasks on average every 3 minutes and 5 seconds. So we know that we need to be able to manage these interruptions, those interruptions that come from other people and that come from ourselves. But saying that we know we need to manage our interruptions and actually managing them are two very different things. There are professional ways to deal with them, and there are not so professional ways to deal with them. But this week's top 10 is about implementing those professional solutions that we have to manage our daily interruptions, whether they are self-imposed or other imposed. And number one comes from Lisa Cuthill of Mississauga, Ontario. Lisa says that if she's in the middle of something, she would hold up her hand, hit Control S, which is the quick keyboard connection for saving what she's doing, jot down a note, and then give the interrupter her full attention. She wanted them to know that they had interrupted her and now they had her full attention. She would also ask them to email whatever their question or issue was to them. So then she would respond. Now, first, this avoids her from having to write down everything and take all the notes they were asking. And second, it forced her to add it to her task list. Once you have your clear goals and tasks, you can put it on your task list and then you know how to prioritize it, right? Rhonda Strong, a regular contributor from Tennessee, gave us our second tip of the week. Rhonda says that she has been placing her computer status on Do Not Disturb so that she can have uninterrupted focus time. She does this with her executive's permission, and he can get in touch with her via cell phone when she's doing this. Now, since she's been doing this, she's been getting a tremendous productivity win. She sets it on Do Not Disturb for only an hour at a time, which is also a really good tip. You can't abuse that at all. Laura Thewalt from Houston, Texas, reminds us of the Pomodoro technique as our third tip of the week. Now, the Pomodoro is also known as the focus tomato technique, and there's many apps that you can download for your phone if you just want to search on focus, Pomodoro or tomato. And basically what you do is you set your timer, and this is what the app does, for you to focus on the task until the timer rings, say somewhere 15, 25 minutes. Then you take a break and then you jump into another task. It's a really great technique to show you how often you interrupt yourself, because while you're focusing on this, you're supposed to be doing just this, and it teaches you not to do that. Number 4 is from Jeannie Martinson of Moose Bank, Saskatchewan. And Jeannie has a great tip to postpone the interrupter. She says, I just need 10 minutes and then I'm all yours. And they usually leave, go figure it out, or do something useful for their time while they're waiting. And I find that when you postpone your interrupter, even if it's just 2 minutes, say, give me 2 minutes to finish this, many times they just move on to somebody else and somebody else will help fix it. And 2 minutes later, they find the solution. They didn't really need you. You were just convenient. Leslie Hardwell from Rapid City, South Dakota shares that when she's in the office, she will go hide in a project room or a boardroom for an hour or two where no one can find her. She doesn't bring her phone. She shuts off her emails and her instant messaging. Now, the trick is that this doesn't happen very often, maybe twice a year. When she's at home, she turns on her music and she sets the Do Not Disturb, and she keeps her team and her leaders informed when she does this. And like I said, the trick is that she's not abusing this technique at all. If she were to do that daily, disappear daily, they would track her down and find her, which would of course defeat the purpose. So these techniques are to be used sparingly, but they work. Number 6 is a great work from home tip from Barbara Munshaw from Manotick, Ontario. Now, Barbara's been at home a lot during the day, as many of us can relate to. And now she has all of her friends or her family call her anytime. And because they know she's working from home, we can relate, right? So what she's done, and I'm sure this is a great technique, is she tells them to call, let it ring once, and hang up. So her call display will say that they called, and if she isn't available, She'll call them back when it's convenient, if she is, and it's a good time for a break because we all need a break. She'll call them back at that time. Now, what that does is it stops her from having her voicemail filled up with messages saying, hey, give me a call. Just ring once. If she has the time, she'll call back. If not, she doesn't. She also has another tip to expand on working from home is when her husband is at home, he knows that he's in charge of everything outside of Barbara's office. And when she's in there and the door is closed, he's only to interrupt her if it's a medical emergency or dinner is ready. Carol Glass from Hampton, Virginia shares number 7. For Carol, this has been a time for reestablishing boundaries, which is a great idea, and making sure that she's not the one to let over people step them. This is a great tip. If Carol's in a meeting and she sets her status on her instant messaging on Teams or on Slack as busy, then she will wait until she's done to respond. She's learned that she was teaching people to cross over the boundaries because she was responding. She'd put up her status as busy, but if it was just a little quick little something, she would get it done and consider that as a win. Unfortunately, it was showing people that busy didn't mean busy. And so what would happen was if she didn't respond to them when she was busy, they looked at that as a fail. So in hindsight, she was creating unrealistic expectations that she would always be available even when she is busy. So I thought that that was a really important lesson for all of us on boundaries when we're trying to manage our interruptions. Linda Brooks from Allison Park, Pennsylvania, has our 8th tip of the week. Last year, Linda tracked her time for several days and making a list of clock time, what she was doing minute by minute, which is a huge task, right? You don't want to do that all the time. But when someone walked into her office to talk, let's call that interrupt, she would say, hold on, I just have to jot down my time because I'm keeping track of my interruptions. And she would take a pen and jot down, and poof, she said, just like that, her interruptions would disappear. They either left immediately or shortened their stay. I'll apologize to her, and I'm sure that it was heaven. I'll bet it was heaven. You can't do that very often, but if you do want to keep track of how often you're being interrupted, that will give you a week after a couple of days of not very many interruptions because no one wants to be written down on your log. Tina Blankenship from Joliet, Illinois, and Deborah Coleman from Henderson, Nevada, worked together on LinkedIn to share number 9. They sort of expanded on each other's tips, and it's about personal interruptions. We interrupt ourselves about 44% of the time on average, so we shouldn't be putting all the blame on everyone else when we're very guilty as well. Tina says that she loves Post-it notes everywhere, and Deborah expanded that thought to say that they help keep her on the right track. Interruptions are inevitable. They're never going to go that way, and it's always on us to keep track and remember where we left off once the fire is put out, right? So Tina and Deborah use sticky notes to help them do all of that. Now, I'm a huge fan of Post-it notes, and I have them in all colors and sizes. So interrupt, just take a little sticky note, write down where I was so that I can get right back to it. And number 10 comes from me. I want you to look at your workspace and get rid of anything that encourages people to interrupt or stay longer. This is probably more in your office space as opposed to your work from home space. If there's an empty chair, it sucks people in and they sit down for a longer visit. If you keep candies on your desk and they need a little snack, they're coming to visit. If you have the funny quote of the day, all of those things make your workspace welcoming, but it encourages interruptions, so get rid of them. Like all things worth having, limiting or eliminating interruptions make us feel more in control, and that's worth having. And hopefully we can get some more things done. Good luck implementing these strategies, and be sure to use your comments, put your comments in the comment section to add your techniques to our ever-growing list. Remember, admins rock.